Hello guys, and welcome back to the Recreational Pilot. So in today's video, I'm going to go over two separate things that have happened to me since getting my private pilot's license. The first thing here that happened, I lost my panel lights when I was flying with my friend Steven. Now this is something I had mentioned in my previous video. I'm just lazy, never really got around at putting the video together, and I decided that I'm done being lazy and I'm going to get this video taken care of. During the time of editing this video, another incident had occurred about a month after this, about a month and a half after this. So I decided to, instead of making two separate videos, since I don't have a whole lot of footage of either, because I don't think to pull out my camera, start recording the first time something happens to me, I don't have a lot of footage of the other incident. So I decided to make it all into one video and go over two separate lessons that I learned since getting my license and sharing my personal experiences with it. So the first thing is I lost my panel lights. Now in this video you'll see that there is a light right above the mixture and beside my hand and the fuel selector switch. That light is the only visual light you can really see right now, but you'll see the light flicker on and off and just completely go out at me. Couldn't figure out why. This happened to me on my base to final leg. So after landing, I decided to take it back to the hangar, get out and do a visual inspection of the position lights to see if they were still working properly. Upon visual inspection, they did end up working and they were fine.
Well, good news, the navigation lights are working. So we are good in that aspect.
So it's just one of these lights that's probably burned out.
Yeah, it's just the panel lights all.
Well, that's good.
Rock light.
So whenever I saw that, I made the decision, I'm just going to take him back to Allegheny County Airport. I should have enough time. It should be light enough. I still got at least another hour and a half before night hits. It could be about a 15 to 30 minute flight up there depending on the winds, since I have a slower plane. If there's any traffic in the pattern, since it's a Class D airport, Allegheny County is different factors. So in my head, I have plenty of time to do it, and just going to get him back home, then come back, put the plane away for the night, and call it a day. Well, as I'm flying up, I get him there, drop him off. I take back off, and as I'm coming back, it is getting much, much darker than I had originally anticipated. And it got to the point where not even halfway there, it was pitch black for the most part. It was still 30 minutes before official night, so it kind of caught me off guard that it got as dark as it did, as quickly as it did. So my critical mistake in this is not having a separate source of light to aid me in seeing my instruments. Now, looking back on it, it was pure stupidity, and on my end of things, I should have had that stuff. At one point, I did have a second source of light. I just took it out for a separate reason and just never put it back in. So that was my downfall, and that was my mistake and my pure stupidity of that. But aside from that, the point of the matter is that I am stuck. I don't have an option. And panel lights aren't required for night flying. So I didn't do anything illegal. I didn't break any rules or anything. It was just I shouldn't have been flying that close to sundown without a second source of light. Well, upon I'm coming back, you can see in the video that it is completely pitch black. I could not see my lights. I could not see my instruments very well. I had to lean in real close to get a good visual on them. It was kind of a mess, in all honesty. Luckily, the runway does have VASI lights, so I was able to determine to see if I was on good glide slope or not. And I still had a decent visual reference of the ground, so it wasn't that serious. I ended up getting the plane back. Pretty rough landing, and after I get shut down the plane and get it back in the hangar, I just thought to myself, I wish I would have done things differently. Part of the reason why I am uploading this video to show you and to share with you guys, so if you guys are in the same situation as I am, you won't make the same mistakes as I did. So the next incident that occurred was about 2 months later, about a month and a half, 2 months later. So I was first doing some city tours. We live really close to the city of Pittsburgh. We're doing some city tours. I was with my instructor a bit. Got a little more night flying experience in. Cousin wanted to come up flying. We ended up flying to Erie that night. Went up, came back down, stopped in Titusville for fuel. So the next day, I was like, you know what? Do you want to go up again, but during daytime? He was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. So we go up there. We land in DuBois, get enough fuel for the trip back. Then we were going to land in Titusville on the way back. So we had enough to get back to county without an issue. Well, as we were flying up over Erie, I had the idea, why don't we stop, land somewhere, get more fuel here, and I can knock out my 100 nautical mile cross country. I'm already here. It's already night. Why not just land and get fuel here and fly back there? So with that idea in mind, we were looking at other airports, and we decided to land in Dunkirk, New York, which is about 10, 15 miles up the lake from where we were at. Decided to stop, land, but when we got there, their avgas fuel pumps were not working. They were out of order. Luckily, there was a CAP meeting that was currently going on, and we talked with them. They didn't have anybody who worked there, but she had a number of somebody who worked at that location, but also at the other location in Jamestown, about a 15-minute flight south. I got in contact with him, and he was like, don't worry, come here. We'll get you fueled up. We'll get you on your way. So my cousin and I loaded back up onto the plane and decided to fly down. So as we're getting there, we land, exit off onto taxiway Delta, and then from there, as we were taxiing back to the FBO, our tire blew out. And this happened right next to the FAA because they were on the field doing some work to one of the other runways. And one of the guys came over, started talking to me. He was like, yeah, I called my supervisor seeing if they wanted us to do anything about it. So that was fun. Well, I give him a call, say, hey, I'm stuck on the taxiway. I can't do anything. Make my radio call out to any traffic in the area, which there were a couple helicopters. Well, about 10, 15 minutes later, he was able to get out there with a tug, hooked me up, and brought me back to the FBO, put it in front of the maintenance hangar. And at that point, I had to wait until next morning, which that reality didn't necessarily hit me until then. My cousin was with me. He wasn't very happy because he was just in shorts and a short sleeve shirt. Because when we took off in Pittsburgh around 6 o'clock in the evening, it was about 80 degrees out. When we got stuck in New York around 9:30 at night, it was about 45 to 50 degrees. So he was freezing. I was pretty cold, but I was able to deal with it. So he taxis us back. Luckily, we had somebody there. And luckily, we had somebody who has had experience with this in the past, because the guy who's rescued us has had a couple engine failures at night. And whenever he was able to land back at the airport, he had to wait there until the next morning in his aircraft on the runway, not being able to do anything until somebody came in the following morning. Luckily, I didn't have to deal with that. He already knew I was coming. He was waiting for me. So in that aspect, we got lucky. He got us hooked up with a rental car, gave us some recommendations for the hotel, and we had to bunker down for the night and come back the next morning. Now, luckily for me, I had my work bag with me. Now, I live across the street from the Allegheny County Airport. I keep my plane down at Connellsville, and I was going to keep it there that night, fly for breakfast, put it away, and go straight to work the next day. So I had my work bag with me because my work requires me to shower. So I had a whole new pair of clothes. I had my phone charger. Everything that I needed was in the bag. My cousin, on the other hand, he wasn't so fortunate. When we got the vehicle, we had to go out, get some stuff at Walmart, get prepared for the night. And we found our way back to the hotel and stayed in for the night. About $850 later, we were able to take back off the following morning around 10:30 and head on out of there. Now, my lessons pretty much from this was that I need to be prepared. When you're flying at night, you have to be prepared to get stuck away from home, because sometimes it happens. There's really nothing you can do about it, and it's just out of your control. Luckily, I was prepared, not because I was anticipating it, but because for some completely different reason. It was just a general fluke that I had the stuff with me. What ended up happening was that the tire pressure was a bit too low, and the tube pinched between the rim and the tire, popped it, and because all the weight of the aircraft was on the tire was disformed and couldn't be used. Luckily, it happened when I was taxiing, so the wheel was fine. That did not have to be replaced, which saved me over $500 and a couple days. I ended up having to call off work that day. My cousin, he works for himself, so he just got in later than he wanted to. But in the end, it did work out. We enjoyed the flight back. It was a bit hazy. The visibility wasn't the greatest, but still good VFR. And it was definitely a lesson for me. I hope you guys can learn from this, so you don't have to figure out the hard way myself. And that's pretty much sums it up. With that being said, this is the Recreational Pilot. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.